Greetings! It is I, Tentus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion on the EARTHDAWN Roleplaying game system. So, when we last left off, we were finishing up. We talked more about spells. Let's finish up talking about spells. So, the spell's description. This is where it's going to list what all the effect actually means and any kind of special requirements to using this spell would exist. The fact is, there are a number of requirements that might need to be met for a spell to be properly cast. Gestures, for example. Your spell might require some kind of gesture in order to properly weave any kind of threads related to it, or to use your spellcasting test. This is not only, of course, physical movement type gestures, but it could be the words you're speaking count as gestures. There could be some other kind of prerequisite that needs to be met, a specific something that needs to be accomplished in order to properly use this spell. It will list whatever that prerequisite is under that spell. Now this is the point in time where it will list any kind of element a spell might have. Spells sometimes have elements. There are 5 basic elements: air, earth, fire, water, and wood. It will list one of these elements if it is important to note that is that type of element, and there are some sub-elements which it might too. Air has electric, wood has metal, and water has both cold and acid. These aren't necessarily something you really need to know about because not all elemental type spells are used by elementalists. It's just important to note for particular interactions of elements with the way things are occurring, you might need to know it. Now similarly, it will list if this spell is an illusion. Now, we went over the details of illusion previously, but it is very important also to note, just like with the elemental spells, illusion spells, not only of them are the purview of illusionists, of illusionism. There are some that are in other disciplines, just like there are some elemental elements which are in other disciplines than elementalist alone. Now there are a number of spells which will list special results on the spellcasting test or the effect test, that effectively if you meet these results, something special occurs with this spell. It will tell you if it's at the average level, the good, or anything above there. It will say at what level the result should be at in comparison to the difficulty for the special result to actually occur. Now the book will list spells. They're listed in a number of ways. First off is a short list, basically just the spell names. This is listed under your discipline and your circle. The circles will be from 1 to 8, so you could easily reference if I'm looking for a first level spell for an illusionist, I know what it is. Or if I'm looking up a first circle spell for an illusionist, hey, I found it. Or if I'm looking up a 4th circle spell for a nethermancer, hey, I can see them. After that, you go into the full alphabetical listing of spells. From A to Z, you can look through them, find whatever spell you need to go over the full amount of information. I would have already known by my discipline, by the circle I'm looking at, what spells I should look at after this full list. It's just up to me to page through, find it, read about it, and know if that's a spell I actually want to learn. Now let's talk about summoning spirits. Summoning is all about basically the attraction of a spirit to you using various talents and spells at your disposal. Basically bringing a spirit forth to you in hopes to get some services from it. Every type of spell or talent usually summons a specific type of spirit. I'm not going to go into various details about each of these types of summoning. I'm going to go into the basics of summoning that are effective for all different types of summoning. The most basic way that any adept, any magician can summon a spirit is through the summoning talent. It's the most straightforward and the most versatile in the types of spirits with the types of powers that you're going to be summoning. There are a wide variety of other talents and spells that possibly could allow you to summon a spirit, but each of them are more specific in the type of spirits they summon and are actually easier. Now, why you say might you still use those? Why wouldn't you just use those? Well, those tend to be less powerful than the summoning talent and usually plan to be simpler. So the fact is, it might be easier to summon with that spell or with this other talent, and you probably are going to be more specific at what you're summoning, but you could have a little bit more variety for a little more difficult for that summoning talent. Now, regardless, no matter what you're doing, it's of course going to require a summoning test in order to properly summon the spirit you want to. And much like with thread weaving, summoning talent is specific to the type of spirit you're really good at. Basically, each discipline has a number of types of spirits that it can summon, and you're going to relate that to the types of spirits your summoning talent can have access to. So each summoning talent, just like with each thread weaving, is unique to effectively its discipline. Now, much of the details on spirits and their actual statistics can be found in the Game Mastery Guide, so you can check that if you want to actually go over what a spirit statistics are going to be. Now, regardless of how powerful your adept is, when it comes to summoning spirits, there is always going to be mystery behind it. No matter how powerful I get, I am never going to fully understand the nature of spirits and the nature of summoning spirits themselves. There's always going to be this level of mystery associated with it that I can never quite pierce. Granted, the more powerful I get, the deeper circle I get, the more ability I get when it comes to summoning, the more bits of information I begin to glean about these spirits and pick up on them, the more familiar I am with them. But there's always this mystery I can never, ever pierce. The thing about all these magician talents that can summon spirits, these adepts that can summon spirits, is they always have a way of communicating with these spirits beyond just summoning. Because that's a necessary part of it, is this communication level. To be able to talk with the spirits in order to summon them in the first place. To sound the call of when you are bringing one forth from the ethereal realms. So that's it for today. I first finished up with spells. I went over the rest of the statistics of it with the description and some of the requirements you might need, like prerequisites and gestures. Talked about specific types of spells with elemental spells and illusions. And moved on to the spell descriptions themselves, the list of them. Then I talked about the very basics of summoning, of bringing a spirit to you, using the summoning talent or another talent or spell that you might have as a discipline to bring forth a spirit, to aid you in what you are doing. In the next episode, I'm going to talk about the types of spirits you could summon, the basic rules about actually using summoning, and of course, banishing spirits. Maybe not your own, but maybe one that another person that summons one use. But if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It shows support for the channel, the empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can always check out my Patreon, link description below. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.